We're at the end, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, this is pretty much it. And after this, we have to wait till Season 4. Hello everyone, Mega Man NG, and I welcome you all to the Flash Season 3 Finale Review. You guys know that since this is the season finale, I'm going full throttle, and I've listed a plethora of topics that I feel I want to address regarding this episode as well as the season. Not just the season, but the entire series. So let us get started with my thoughts on the Season 3 finale episode, Finish Line. Let us begin. On that day, May 23rd is where Iris West had died at the hands of Savitar. Everyone who has known her had been visibly affected by this unexpected death, especially Barry. But what can a person do when they experience a loss like that? With nothing to lose, Barry must now find a way to stop Savitar once and for all. But can he do so when this future time remnant is on the verge of not just being a god, but ruling past, present, and future? I thought the Season 3 finale was going to be not as good. I was proven wrong. The Season 3 finale really was amazing. I really enjoyed it because, yeah, it was basically the point of no return. Well, Barry lost Iris. Everyone had been affected by it. But when I saw what really happened, I was blown away. And I'll be frank, this episode really was an intense one because there are so many things I want to be happy about. For starters, we actually get some good character development, especially for HR, who had to do the unthinkable to save Iris. HR, Earth 19 Wells, wasn't as interesting as a character. Well, he wasn't that. He was just like a different version of Harrison Wells, or rather a different version of Tom Cavanaugh. But as time went on, I grew to like the guy. Sure, he wasn't as smart, but he actually had a good head. He actually had a good mind, good thinking, good smarts. His relationship with Tracy Brand was emotional, and seeing him die affected Tracy in a very bad way. And speaking of which, Tracy Brand is actually more improving as a character. I'm now starting to like her. But how well this goes, I don't know for sure. The action was intense, because we not only had a fight between Vibe and Killer Frost, we also got our hands on a big battle. The big final battle between Savitar and not one, not two, but three speedsters. For starters, it was awesome seeing Jay Garrick again, and seeing Wally West kick butt for once. But hey, it was satisfying in the end with the time remnant finally wiped away from existence. But you have to wonder, he's so fixated on ensuring his own existence that he would do anything. I'm beginning to be reminded of not only Eobor Thawne, but Hunter Zolomon as well. I mean, he's like a mix of all three, and the thing is, he is a version of Barry Allen from the future. That's a shock. That's a shock, and seeing him actually being more understanding really shows that there is actually another side of this future Barry. Sure, it was all an act, but had things be a bit different and this future Barry getting some needed help, maybe Savitar wouldn't be as bad as he thought, and maybe he can just accept his lost existence. Who knows? But overall, I love this episode greatly, but I did find a few faults. For starters, Wally West wasn't as utilized as much in the season finale, since most of it was focused on Barry Allen, Killer Frost, and Vibe and Savitar, not to mention HR's death. And another thing, well, I felt the ending was a bit too predictable. It started becoming a recurring theme for the season, with Season 1 with the Vortex that would soon introduce the multiverse, Season 2's end involving Flashpoint and Barry's regrettable decision. But in this case, even though this is considered a negative, I felt that this was actually quite fitting. Quite fitting that Barry Allen, even though he made a lot of mistakes, it's time for him to accept his losses, or in this case, take responsibility. Which is why I'm starting to like him more than Peter Parker. He's becoming less like Peter Parker. You get the idea, right? And the final scene with the funeral, I felt it wasn't that much emotional. I mean, it was just underwhelming. But regardless, the episode was very strong, very good. We get good character development, great action. Iris no longer being the damsel in distress. She actually does something good for once. And an ending that makes me feel a bit hopeful for Season 4, since we got rid of the evil big bad. Hopefully Season 4 will take things on a more lighter direction, as well as the fact that this season, or rather next season, has big shoes to fill, since Barry Allen is going to be going with his mother into the Speed Force. Who knows? I probably wouldn't be surprised that they actually bring him back. So that little mini bit at the end, I'm reminded of Crisis on Infinite Earths, when Barry had to sacrifice his own life to save the multiverse. It was by this moment that the multiverse began with Barry Allen, and it would end the same way. And it's quite fitting with the TV show. Now, before we move on to my final verdict, I have a couple of other things I want to discuss. First up, what do these three people have in common? Eobor Thawne, Savitar, and Hunter Zalman. What do they have in common? Simple. Time remnants, paradoxes, and speedster villains. From Season 1 to Season 3, we've had speedster villains all around, and their motivations are pretty similar in some ways. Eobor Thawne wants to get back home. Hunter Zalman wants to ensure his existence. Savitar, well, he's similar to Hunter, but on a much grander scale, and I mean very grand. Like, using the Speed Force cannon to ensure that his existence would live on all throughout time. That's insane. But what I also noticed comparing to these three villains is that they are similar in many ways. Like, for example, time remnants. Eobor Thawne had various versions of himself, or in a way, after he was plucked out and setting up Flashpoint, he ultimately became a time remnant, or in a case, a paradox. Someone that should not exist, yet does anyway, hence why he was hunted down by Hunter Zalman. Hunter Zalman was also a Speed Force villain, but he also had to rely on time remnants. He basically played fire with the Speed Force and paid the price. It didn't stop Barry Allen at the end of Season 2, the race of his life, because he had to use a time remnant to stop Hunter Zalman. And in the end, Hunter Zalman would become the Black Flash, who ends up killing Eobor Thawne, but ends up dying at the hands of Killer Frost, which I found it to be rather underwhelming, but also a bit fitting. As for Savitar himself, he's a mix of all three. He's a time remnant of Barry Allen from the future. However, he was shunned because he was not the original. This sort of warped his mind, and in turn, he would set in motion events that would become Savitar and drive Barry to darkness while ensuring his own existence. In a way, he's a paradox, someone that shouldn't exist. And when they saw that the future was changing, well, it was affecting future Barry in a big way. But that's the thing regarding these three villains. They're basically similar in every way. They rely on using time remnants to fulfill their own ends. In a way, they're a bit of a paradoxes. Well, 2 out of 3, actually, because Eobor Thawne basically survived and ended up in Legends of Tomorrow Season 2, while future Barry wanted to ensure his own existence, even if it meant having to destroy the universe in the process. That's scary, but one thing in common with these three, they're all villains. And thankfully, we won't have to worry about speedster villains anymore since all three are now gone. I want to discuss about this because I felt that Savitar is similar to the other two villains. They're similar in terms of motivations, but their motivations are completely different. Not to mention, they rely on using time remnants and would end up becoming paradoxes as a result. Well, 2 of them actually. Now then, next up is a little something I want to do. The life and times of Barry Allen from Season 1 to Season 3. Throughout these 3 seasons, Barry Allen has grown a lot as a character, and we've seen him change and evolve. Whether it be Season 1 where it served as a starting point. If Season 1 was the beginning, and Season 2 was the middle, Season 3 is the end. And we actually get to see his entire story unfold. Yes, he made a lot of mistakes, but he ends up growing as a character in the process. It's a reason why Barry Allen is so popular in DC. He pretty much introduced the idea of the multiverse. He pretty much reinvigorated DC Comics and gave us the Silver Age, which is the modern recreations. Hence why the Golden Age is Jay Garrick, the Silver Age is Barry Allen. But you can't help but ask yourself, he's been through a lot, and I felt that it was high time that he needed a much-deserved break. Well, with what happened at the end, it's pretty much proof of that. And the fact in Crisis on Infinite Earths, Barry Allen risked his life to ensure the multiverse's survival. And from that point, his story would end. The case here, his story would end the same way in Season 3 because they needed somebody within the Speed Force. Barry was willing to give up everything to ensure that his home would be safe. And yes, the ending bit was kind of mopey, but to me, it was a golden moment for Barry Allen and serving as a conclusion to his story. Barry Allen has done a lot from the beginning up until now. He made many mistakes, he was responsible for a lot of numerous things, but in the end, he would always do what is right for the sake of his friends, his family, and the entire multiverse. Barry Allen, for 3 seasons, you've been through a lot. You deserve a nice long rest, trust me. And hopefully, we'll see things change in Season 4. But personally, if there's anything I want for Season 4, is that Barry wouldn't be around for most of the season. That's what I hope for. And speaking of which, regarding Season 4, now comes the next topic. What to come for The Flash Season 4? Now, I've compiled my wish list into 3 things. Why 3 things? Because I have a lot to say regarding them. Let us begin with number 1. No speedster villains. For 3 seasons, we had villains as speedsters. Eobor Thawne, Hunter Zolomon, a future Barry Allen who ends up becoming Savitar. I personally feel that enough is enough. We don't want any more speedster villains because it would be too predictable and it would also make the show too boring. Thankfully, it has been confirmed that Season 4 there will not be a speedster villain. Thank God for it because I want a new villain that's more down to earth. Someone who can actually affect Team Flash on a physical and emotional level. Who really knows for sure because Season 4 is not going to be coming for a few months. But at least with this off the list, I could just check it off and say that no more speedster villains for this season. Number 2, and this is one that I hope would be possible. Wally West as the Flash. With Barry Allen entering the Speed Force and disappearing from the Crisis, I wanted to also serve as a stepping stone for Wally West. I felt that Season 3 personally, Wally West was very underutilized. Underutilized to the point where he didn't really do much in the grand scheme of things. I want that to change in Season 4, as Season 4 should provide maybe a good introduction to Wally West, possibly as the Flash. I want it also to serve as a sense of rebirth, because as long as there is a Flash, Central City would always be safe. But at the same time, it would elevate Wally West's character up to becoming a full-fledged hero. He was Kid Flash in Season 3, but I want the next season to serve as sort of a next step for Wally West and his actor, as him having a huge responsibility as being Central City's newest hero, as the Flash, serving as not only a rebirth, but also a passing of the torch, which they did just that in the last scene, and I was reminded of DC Rebirth. So I hope that the writers can be able to take this idea and have Wally West become at least the Flash for the 4th season. But if not, it's always wishful thinking because I really want this to be the next step. And the last one, I want better writing and better character development because Season 3 has been a bit of a mixed bag. The previous 2 seasons were solid. Season 3 was not because it had a bit of a roller coaster. Up and down, up and down, up and down, and it gets too tiring. It really does get too tiring because I want things to be consistent. And sometimes the consistency could just get thrown out the window. Sometimes we get good stuff and sometimes we don't. For the next season, I want not only better writing so that way the episodes can be more enjoyable, but also more character development. Season 3 did give us some character development, but it was few and far between. I want Season 4 to have a lot of character development so that way the characters can become more three-dimensional and become more likable. Because there were some characters that I like. Heck, most of the cast in Team Flash already likable, but the rest was not. And I felt that to be rather underwhelming. Hopefully Season 4 can change all that. Not just for the best, but also for the overall show, because unfortunately Arrow is kicking Flash's butt and has been doing a lot better to make up for all the mistakes. I want Flash to follow Arrow's example and actually provide better storytelling and development. Heck, undo the events of Flashpoint so we can have a world the way it should be. Because I'm still torn over how Flashpoint came about. And I understand it was done to introduce Supergirl to the CW-verse, but it just felt like a slap in the face. It really did. I only wish that Season 4 can follow these 3 guidelines. The first one's already a given, but the other 2, I want it to be definite. But if not, I could at least try. I have no regrets with that. Now, I've already spoken way too long. We're already 15 minutes in. I would have had it longer, but let's just say I'm running low in time and I need to make sure to get this episode up. The final score for Season 3 finale, and before I explain my rating, remember that this is all opinionated, so if you want to disagree, feel free. My final score for the Season 3 finale finish line is a 9 out of 10. It is a very improved finale compared to the last season. And sure, it did have some faults, but this finale served satisfying and provided proper closure for the season, which is something I liked, and a bit of sense of hope for the next season since it will hopefully go into a lighter direction. Because if they can do that, then I know that the show is going to kick it out of the park. But overall, Season 3, I'm giving it an 8. There were some good episodes, but others were just meh. I just felt that Season 3, it started off really great with Flashpoint, but it kind of petered out after the episode ended and introduced us to new characters, new villains, but also the same old situation. And in this case, the obsession with protecting Iris really kind of hampered the episode considerably, or rather hampered the show. Now that we've gotten it out of the way, we can just now hopefully start fresh and start better. At least with the previous 2 seasons, the season started off great. Season 1 started off good and ended the same way. Season 2 continued it and introduced the multiverse, ending in a dramatic yet great way while also setting things up for Season 3. Then Season 3 came about, started off good, and it kind of went downhill despite a few good ones. The only thing I hope for next season is that they make things better, have it be a bit more lighthearted, balance out the light and darkness, because Season 3, there was a lot more dark than light. And if they could be able to achieve that balance, then it would really, really help the show considerably. If not, I don't know what to do because I'm not at liberty to decide for that. I really am not. Now I gotta do is wait approximately 5 months for the new season to start, and the cycle will begin all over again. And last but not least will be my top 5 episodes of The Flash Season 3. This list was very difficult to make because, unlike Season 2 where they had some very good episodes, Season 3 was harder because of the more darker atmosphere and more serious tone. But if you have your own list, feel free to share it in the comments. I'm not going to judge you or anything. Feel free to disagree with me if this list is not to your liking. But hopefully, with the next season, things can get better. I've said it already like way too many times. Let's just get this list over with, alright? Number 5, The Once and Future Flash. Now, time travel stories are always interesting. The fun thing about this is that this was directed by Tom Cavanaugh, aka the actor that has portrayed not 1, not 2, not 3, but many incarnations of Harrison Wells. And he did a fantastic job showing a possible future for Barry Allen, as well as everyone who has been affected. Although the episode was a bit dark in some cases, it added a sense of hope not just for the future, but also of a way to save Iris in the past. It was pretty good, and seeing the Flash's new costume for the future Flash kind of reminded me of the one from DC Comics. It was pretty nice, and I wish that past Barry could take a few notes on it and maybe upgrade his costume. But the costume we have is good enough, so who am I to complain? Number 4. And yeah, you didn't really think you would expect this on the list, but number 4 is the season finale, Finish Line. I've already expressed my discussions about this earlier in the review, but if you want the short version, the episode was great, provided a lot of closure, character development, action where 3 speedsters take on a god, and 2 vibes taking on Killer Frost. I forgot to mention that. Gypsy appears in this episode. Many of the cast that appeared throughout the season make their appearances here, and they're executed well. They executed it very well, and I liked it. It serves as a fitting tribute to the season, and hopefully hope for the future. Finish Line earns its number 4 spot because despite its faults, I really enjoyed the season finale a lot. I was at the edge of my seat. I thought we'd be getting a happy ending, but no. The Flash has to throw a wrench on it and set things up for the next season. However, in this case, it's setting up for some big shoes to fill, with Barry Allen in the Speed Force and Wally West becoming the new hero. I've already mentioned my wish list for Season 4, so check that out if you haven't gotten a chance. Number 3, I'm cheating with this because truthfully, it's my list. I do whatever the heck I want. Number 3 on my list is the Invasion crossover. And I'm not just talking about one episode. I'm talking about the entire crossover as a whole. From Supergirl, although the whole thing just started actually at The Flash, Supergirl, The Flash, Arrow, and Legends of Tomorrow. From start to finish, it was a thrill ride of epic proportions. Each episode served as a piece of the puzzle, and it's done exceptionally well, with my personal favorites being Flash, Arrow, and Legends, respectively. All 3 of them are just truly solid. I really loved it. You have The Flash, which ties up a bit of loose ends and added more continuity with the shows, especially with The Flash with Flashpoint. Arrow served as a wonderful tribute to the show, to the series, to the characters, the actors, and everybody involved, and I can tell everyone had a fun time doing it. And Legends of Tomorrow having a big epic team-up against the Dominators in a grand finale that is just so satisfying. Not to mention seeing them all together, kicking butt and saving the world, worth it. Absolutely worth it, and it deserves the number 3 spot. And yeah, I am cheating on this, but so what? The entire crossover was amazing. And I hope that we get another crossover like this next year, but on a much bigger scale. Who knows? If it ever happens, just know I'm going to review it. Number 2. This one made me the most giddy, and this was I truthfully wanted to make this number 1, but I can't. Number 2 is Infantino Street. I love this episode for 3 reasons. First up, it is a delight seeing Wentworth Miller portray Captain Cold again. Did I mention I'm a fan of his work? I'm a fan of this guy, whether it be on the CW verse or in the Fox series Prison Break. Here, Wentworth Miller was so suave with his role. Seeing Barry and Captain Cold work together really was delicious. It was satisfying. It added good chemistry, good development for Leonard, and good development for Barry. Although it led to an ending that was pretty shocking. Set things up for the finale because you know it would be inevitable. But bottom line, Infantino Street was a phenomenal episode. It was great. It was enjoyable. Last year's list, I gave the number 2 spot to Rupture, which I still love to this day, but Infantino Street topped it because we got a familiar character, a new environment, not to mention seeing King Shark again was surprising. But hey, it was worth it. It really is. Now, before I explain number 1, let me just say that Season 3, it may have been dark, but there have been moments where things were a bit lighthearted, and it was the moments where it really mattered. This is actually a pretty tough decision to make because if you've been watching my reviews, you know that number 1 is pretty much inevitable. And I'm cheating on this, and I truthfully do not care. I truthfully don't. Because my number 1 episode of The Flash Season 3 is more than just a crossover episode. It was an episode where everyone got to have fun. Everyone got to show off their singing skill, their singing talents, and an ending that was very heartwarming. Not to mention seeing Barry Allen and Kara Zor-El singing and dancing really made me giddy inside. Number 1 of my top 5 episodes of The Flash Season 3 is Duet. You all knew it. Like last year with Welcome to Earth 2, Duet is my number 1 episode for a variety of reasons. For starters, it is a crossover with Supergirl. That's the good thing. Number 2, the episode showcased some of the actors' many singing talents, and they all delivered fantastic performances, especially the actress for Kara Zor-El. Good God, she nailed Moon River perfectly. She nailed it to a T. All of them were fantastic. They had a lot of fun with this episode, and that fun should transcend onto the audience. It was divine. It is divine. It is perfect. It is amazing. And the ending was so very heartwarming, where unlike the previous time where Barry proposed to Iris, this time Barry has now the desire to it. He really wanted what was best for Iris. I understand that. But something like this should remind him what really matters, and that is his family and his friends. And seeing Barry propose to Iris in song was satisfying, was giddy, and overall, one of the best things I've ever enjoyed in a show like this, even if it is a crossover. And yes, this is going to make me want to buy the soundtrack, the special soundtrack for this, because all the songs are just truly a delight to listen to. And fitting, since it did brought many characters from the CW verse together for like an intense sing-along. Who would have thought many of them would be well-known singers? That was pretty amazing. Really is. So yes, Duet is number 1 for all these reasons. I gave it a perfect 10 for a reason. And I loved it so much. It is just truly one of my favorite episodes of the season, if not the series, next to both Rupture and Welcome to Earth 2. If you guys have your own list, feel free to share it in the comments. Don't be shy. I'm not going to judge or anything like that because I love The Flash, for better or for worse. And the only thing I hope for is that Season 4 can at least take things in a different direction. No more darkness, no more secrets, none of that stuff. What I want is something that can provide a balance between light and dark. And if they can do that, that'll make me pretty happy. So yeah, that is it for my Flash season finale episode review. Good God, I'm almost 25 minutes in and I need to get this up on YouTube. So yeah, it's not my best review compared to last year, which I really took the time towards. This one I'm in a rush and I need to make sure I get it done. So I do apologize if I end up stuttering my lines or anything like that. I'm not even using a script either, which is worse. What happens now? You're not going to be seeing any reviews until October. The same can be said for Tales of the TMNT, which I'm still waiting for new episodes even now. But I would like to thank each and every one of you who has taken the time to watch, liked, commented, etc. You guys really do mean a lot. And if you enjoyed the season finale review, please be sure to hit the like button. It really does mean a lot to me. And I will see you guys in October for when I review The Flash Season 4. This review isn't my best, but I only hope that it's for your satisfaction. This is Mega Man NG signing off. Peace out. See you next time, and thank you.